I'm at work. It's a warm, sunny day. Me and my coworkers, we standing outside of the food truck, just kicking it. We see this car speed into the parking lot. And this young lady briskly walked across the parking lot. And her dude, which happened to be one of my coworkers, got into a verbal altercation. Now remember, we are all at work. So now the altercation is starting to get a little long, loud. In the midst of this conversation, she slapped him. And I'm talking about this is one of them good loud slaps, but it looked like the sweat came off his head, spit flew out his mouth. I mean, she put everything into that slap. Next thing I know, they outside wrestling and tussling on the asphalt. I mean, they on the ground now. They rolling around. This thing done got ugly. So of course the co-workers, we run over there, we break the fight up. She gets back in her car, yelling and screaming, speeds off and leaves. The boss was looking out his window. Young dude got fired on the spot. Like it was no hesitation. I mean, he was out of there. So of course, a couple weeks go by. I'm calling, checking up on him, asked him how he doing. In the midst of this conversation, he tells me him and his lady split up. He went back to his mama's house. I think she may have stayed in the apartment they had. I'm not sure, but I do know he went back to his mama's house. Because at this time, he don't have a job. But him and her had two kids together. And it wasn't just his lady, that was his wife. But what he did tell me was, in the midst of that conversation, he said, man, when I first met that chick, she told me she was crazy. He said, but I took one look at her. She was hot as a firecracker in my eyes. And I said, hey, we all got issues. And I went for it. We're going to fast forward this story a little bit. Oh, because that relationship went totally downhill. They go to court. They wind up getting a divorce. He, at the time, had a pretty nice job for a young guy because we was making pretty good money. But because he got fired for that escapade on the job, at this point, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months later, he's still at his mama's house. And he might have had a little job, but he was making next to nothing. I'm not even sure if he was working. But what I do know is this, because he was making next to no money or no money, when he was ordered to pay child support, it wasn't but about $200 or $300 a month. $200 or $300 a month. Because it's based on your income. And I'm saying all that to say this. If you're in a relationship and you think it's at the end of the road, and if you married, and if you got kids with somebody, the last thing you want to do is run to your significant other's job and get them fired. Because at the time, it might seem funny to you. But in the long run, that directly affects you and your children. Because if he not making no money, or if you get her fired and she not making no money, they cannot contribute to you and your kids. Because had they just broke up and he kept that job, his child support might have been $800 or $900 a month, which would have been a whole lot better for her and her kids and the family. But because of that ruckus on the job, because he got fired, all he had to pay was $200 or $300 a month. And yes, he was pissed because he liked that job. And in the end, if somebody tell you they crazy, they just might be crazy. Look here, y'all. My name is Daryl Moore. Check out my book, Payback. Peace, love, happiness. I'm out.